We are back with part two. We are discussing Megapack and the Megapactory system overall and the economics of it, because to me, the economics are exciting. So I have invited back Bradford Ferguson from Rebellionaire to help make us a little bit smarter and understand what we're dealing with. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Bradford, thank you for joining me one more time. I got a lot of questions about the economics. Give me a quick overview, economics of Megapack.
So Megapack, the reason why people buy Megapack is it helps to smooth out the energy curve during the day. So with renewable clean energy, which is the lowest cost energy you can have, even when paired with batteries, it's right up there. Um, you have the solar energy curve that peaks out in the middle of the day, but then it dwindles and it starts low too, kind of in between, at dawn. And we have a similar curve later in the day or at night with wind that goes like this. So you need to shave off the top of that energy curve, store that in your battery. So then when it dips down at sunset, and before the wind picks up, then you have the energy there for you. So it really helps smooth out the energy curve for our clean, low cost energy. So that's the key piece for utilities, and it also is a bit of a no-brainer when looking at what's called peaker plants. And peaker plants are plants that run, maybe only like 5 days in the summer, or maybe in the winter there might be a case for it, but usually in the summer the demand for air conditioning and all the energy gets really crazy, and they have these natural gas power plants that only turn on for those 5 days. That's extremely expensive for the utilities. So instead, what they're looking to do is use batteries to store a bunch of energy in the days prior, that can be used during these peak load times. So that's the case for the market. For Tesla, the way the unit economics works is, if you only want to buy one, it's going to cost you 2 million each. And this is of the mega pack that has nearly 4 megawatt hours, and it has a sufficient power to disperse all of that in 2 hours. It can disperse it more slowly if it wanted to, but it could do it in 2 hours. If you buy 100 of them, then they're only 1.5 million each. So it's a pretty significant product when you see it in the lots. And let's say they have 400 on a lot, at one time at the Megapactory in Lathrop, you're literally looking at $600 million of inventory. Um, a lot of these are sold to bigger projects, so most of the Megapacks sold aren't being sold at the $2 million rate just for one-offs. They're being sold, 50 to 100 at a time.
And we saw that at the end of last quarter, there was a drone footage from Lathrop where we saw they had hundreds out there, wasn't it? Like 270 or something. It was quite a collection. And um, in last quarter's numbers, I noticed there was weaker than expected stationary storage revenue. I know Tesla Economist I had a discussion with him on X. He was saying this is doom and gloom, and I said no, I think it's lumpy deliveries. It's not like cars where you can try and get them out and paid for at the end of the quarter. These are large projects that may take months from the time they're built until the time you can actually collect final payment. And we will see that smooth over time, I assume, especially if a second factory comes online in Shanghai, which we do expect to see. But in the meantime, some unusual patterns may emerge. Now, they have a big backlog, but they also cut prices within the last year. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so lithium prices came down significantly, with the mega packs that were mainly sold last year and late the year prior. The prices had gone up much higher because lithium prices have gone higher. So a lot of the cost in these batteries is from lithium. So with lithium prices coming way down, then they're resetting like this reference price for it. Now, if you're a big project and you have to wait a year, there's likely clauses in the contract where if the lithium prices change by a certain amount, then your price ends up changing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's the main reason why costs have come down or prices have come down.
Retail prices.
Mhm.
And now, when we're talking about these, I can't imagine anyone's made it this far in the video without knowing, but we're talking about these shipping container sized batteries used largely for utilities, but they're also used for other things. An example you gave on the previous video was a hospital may use it for their uninterrupted, power,
Mhm.
because you cannot have a blackout when there's surgery going on. It is life or death at that point. Um, there are countless applications for this, I am sure. Uh, where do you see the most growth coming from? Is it all utilities?
Yeah, I'd say it's mainly from utilities and it's from solar and wind. We've seen a lot of instances where the price of power spikes in Texas or California, or it goes below zero, where there's so much power that the utility company is actually paying others to take it from them. So you really need batteries to help smooth out things on an intraday basis for clean energy. So I think it mainly comes from utilities first. It's the biggest source of power, but there are a lot of businesses out there that make their own power, and maybe they want to, help balance things out. Yeah, I think utilities is the main source of that.
Is the main one, but I think we're going to see more. Tesla has their own Megapack little farm there in
Mhm.
Austin. I think we might see more large industrial use cases for it. We know that in Texas recently, uh, someone very important, I don't know, was asked how they got through the latest cold snap without massive outages, and there was credit given to the battery systems, the stationary storage systems, not just Tesla but others as well.
Mhm.
So that smoothing is very helpful. Now, I wonder, do you think as LFP gets into cars, we might see vehicle to grid where people can run virtual power plants made up of hundreds, if not thousands, of cars within their utility district?
It would make sense. One of the knocks with nickel, the nickel batteries, is that they degrade over time more. I'm not sure about the degradation on LFP, but you can charge it fully to 100% without any worries. So, doing vehicle to grid with LFP would, um, I think people would might have less reservations about it because you don't really need to nurture your battery as much as you might with a nickel based battery.
Well, we know from Jeff Dahn's talks on million mile and 4 million mile battery, those were all using various LFP chemistries.
Ooh.
So I think those could be the missing piece, because I can't see a company like Rivian or GM wanting to wear out batteries that are under warranty for 8 years, cycling all day while racking up no miles at all. Um, and the vehicle to grid thing could become a big consideration. I know a lot of places don't, a lot of utilities don't want to allow that. I know Ford already has a pilot program that they put together with Koch Industries, a very big utility that
Mhm.
um, that is using Ford Lightnings, not very many and not very extensively, but just trying it out. So it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if that would be a reason to not invest more in mega factories. Do you think the capital outlay is huge to build these factories?
No, it's very minimal. It's very capex efficient. Drew Baglino confirmed that. Um, yeah, essentially, it's just a warehouse, and you have some machinery to make the boxes, to coat the boxes. Then you have assembly stations to like get the plumbing and electrical ready, um, and maybe some things to help mount that. And then there's devices to pick up the heavy batteries and put them in. Um, so I think it's very capex light, and that's something that Tesla has confirmed.
And what do you think the actual margins are on the Megapacks today?
So this is a bit of a loaded question for me because when I look at what they're made of, I have trouble seeing where the cost is. So if you think about it, it's 4 megawatt hours of battery, and if they're using LFP, then that's costing them. Um, let's see, it's a 4,000 kilowatt hours, and it's less than $100 per kilowatt hour for LFP, but let's just pretend that's the number. So that's $400,000. There's no supercomputers in these mega packs. Um, there's basically like some plumbing and electrical. There is inverters. So the question is how expensive are these inverters? So these inverters handle a lot of power, um, much more power than is in even one car. So each of these mega packs has um, the modules in the mega packs is higher than is in, I think, even in the Cybertruck. So you need very strong inverters to do all this, and those might be incredibly hard to make. So I'm wondering if the power electronics. This is a silicon carbide. So silicon carbide is the third hardest material on planet Earth, and it's made in these arc furnaces. So it gets it up to 1500 degrees Celsius or higher, and there's 200 potential crystalline structures for silicon carbide, and you want one of those 200, so you got to get the baking just right. And I wonder if they're struggling to ramp that.
So what we're seeing is the bottleneck may be, we know it's not the batteries. They should be able to get those in reasonable supply. The bottleneck could be some very complicated piece of the inverter. And that could also be a major contributor to the
Yeah.
cost. That's
it,
interesting. I hadn't considered that. And I
yeah.
wonder if that's something that the other manufacturers of similar products are similarly facing.
It is possible it is batteries. We did make an assumption as a community that CATL can just whip up a new battery factory just like that because we saw them do it once. Maybe it's a little slower for them going forward to expand from there. LG had a big boost in 2170 for Tesla, but it seems like maybe they ran into some limits as well as far as growing production. So it's possible it's from battery. I think it's more likely from power electronics if it's limited by supply and not like needing more equipment at Megafactory Lathrop.
Well, if I'm asking you to add 20 gigawatt hours of additional cells, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. And then by the way, I need another 40 next year on top of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's all pretty interesting. So the margin, is it safe to say that they've got 15 to 20% margin on the bulk units and that it's significantly higher on the onesie twosie units, which are priced a third higher?
Yeah. So as I was starting to say, yeah, they're selling these in bulk. The 2 hour version at 1.5 million. At most, it's 400,000 in batteries, and then on the inverter side, maybe these inverters cost 10 times what they might cost in the cars. So maybe it's 300,000 in inverters. So um, I'm having a hard time seeing how margins aren't like 50% on the 2 hour kind, and maybe they're a little less on the 4 hour kind, but the 4 hour would use less silicon carbide. So I'm struggling to see where the cost is. Again, there's no like supercomputer. Like AutoBidder runs pretty easily from these things. You don't need a supercomputer for that. Um, yeah, I struggle to see where the cost. So I think margins from Megapack 2XL are at least 25%.
That was my early assumption as well. And I wonder if the lower margins that we're seeing only appear that way because there's deferred revenue until they are actually
Yeah.
switched on. Because getting permits, you got to
Yeah.
build it,
So
you got to ship
it
it.
would be,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. So it would be because the lower margins can be because Giga Nevada, even though it stopped making Megapack 2 in March of 2023, they had to defer business rolling off, and the business from that was at close to zero margin. So that might be part of it too. So like as those Giga Nevada continue to roll off or into the profit statement, um, we may see higher margins from that.
So, guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What do we misunderstand? What do I need to bring Bradford back to tell us about the economics and the prospects and all of it about Megapack? Because he knows a thing or two about it in case you couldn't tell. So, everybody else, like, subscribe, do the usual things. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the next one. Bradford, thank you so much.
Yep. Bye for now.